Good morning, and welcome to the Universalist Church in which love is the spirit. We are glad you are here, whether you're here in the sanctuary today or anywhere in the world. I'm Lisa Smith-Horn, one of your representatives on the Board of Trustees. If you're a visitor, we hope you'll sign one of our guest books at either the entrance to the sanctuary or visit our webpage, www.westhartforduu.org, to learn more. There you can use the contact page to get onto our electronic mailing list. Our electronic communications are the best way for us to stay connected. We look forward to helping you become a part of the Universalist Church. We're in the season of increased respiratory illnesses, so our ushers have masks to share if you need or would prefer one. We encourage everyone to be careful with your health and the health of others. After worship, we'll have fellowship in Fisk Hall and through Zoom. If you need help finding your way to Fisk Hall for our fellowship hour, any member of the church will be happy to guide you. Just look for someone wearing a Universalist Church name tag.
We do have a few announcements today. The first is to remind you that there will be a barn dance pop-up event during our coffee hour today in Fisk Hall. So please stick around. not only for the coffee, but for the dancing and the fun too. In addition, there will also be a First Sunday Visitors Coffee today in the parlor. So if you are new to the congregation, and by new I mean, relatively new, you don't know a lot of people, maybe you don't know me yet, this is a great opportunity to connect with some other new folks and to learn a little bit about the church. You can follow me to the parlor after worship, but I'm going to actually ask Iraj Murmanesh to stand up. He's probably your best person to follow because he's going to be more available than I will be. All right. And the last thing that I need to let you know is some of you are aware that Gmail and I think Yahoo and a couple of other things have changed their security protocols. So certain emails are no longer going through to you. So if you haven't seen an email from the church in a while or for our newsletter, it might be that it's getting caught up either in a spam filter or just not even showing up to you even though we are sending them. Amanda is working with somebody to try to get all of that corrected. It's a long and arduous process from what I understand from the IT folks I know, but we're working on it. So do let us know if you have not received things so that we can kind of keep track of who you are and what's going on. We want you to know that we are in fact trying, and it is kind of out of our control that other ISPs and things are not letting us get through to you. We're doing our best to fix it. Thanks.
You can also find the link for Zoom that in the weekly news or our Breeze calendar. If you aren't getting the weekly news, please sign up for it on our website. And now I invite you to take a moment to make your mobile phones silent, turn off your email, put away your keyboards, and settle in for worship.
One, two, 1, 2, 3.
If you have your home chalice or candle ready, please light it with us here in the sanctuary. The Reverend Kathleen McKee says, "We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection of our own eyes. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope is hallowed by our presence here together." Our opening hymn is number 1007 in the blue hymnal. Number 1007, "There's a River Flowin' in My Soul." Please rise in body or in spirit as we sing together. Let's join in speaking the words of our affirmation, our covenant. It's printed in your order of service and in the description online. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please be seated.
Good morning. Could I have some young kiddos up here with me this morning? Come on up. You want to sit down with me? Okay. Let's go. Hi. Is this Lila and Aiden? Hi. Yeah. Excellent. Come over here. So I have a fun thing to talk to you about this morning. See all these musicians right here? They're going to help us out. Some of them don't even know it yet. And that's part of what we're doing. There's this thing called improvising. You know what improvising is? It's kind kind of making it up as you go along, right? So sometimes when Ted is playing saxophone, there are notes that he's playing. See the notes on that piece of paper right there? And sometimes he turns away from the page and he just plays what's in his heart and doesn't follow what's on the page. And that's called improvising. Can you say that with me? Improvising? Okay. So there's a really special way to improvise in jazz. This is the kind of music that we're hearing today. And it's called scat. Can you say scat? Scat. What does scat sound like? Who do you say scat to? Scat. What does that mean? Yeah.
It means like go away.
Go away. Scat, right? But in music, in jazz, it's a kind of improvising with your voice that doesn't use real words. And I'm going to have Patricia kind of illustrate what this is like. And one of the ways that singers scat is they try to mimic or sound like an instrument. So Ted is going to play a little bit, and then Patricia is going to scat back what she hears. Okay? Isn't that fun? So she's not using real words, right? Do you want to try? I want to try. It looks like fun. All right, we'll try. Ba-doo-ba-doo-bop. Can you do that with me? Do-do-do-ba-doo. It's just that. Do it again. Ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. And one more. Ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. So let me tell you about someone really famous. Her name is Ella Fitzgerald. And when you go home today, ask mom or dad or someone to punch up Ella Fitzgerald on whatever music streaming you have and listen to her scat. She is the best scat singer of all time. I don't want to hear any argument about that. So thank you for learning this with me, and we're going to go off to our classes now.
So if your children have gone up and away and you don't quite know what's happening yet because you're new to the church, you are welcome to follow. They are just right out here on the first floor, either in the room directly behind the church or in one of the classrooms on the right-hand hallway. Our voluntary offering, the sharing of our resources for our shared work as a religious community, is a spiritual practice for us. By offering your time, talent, and treasure to this community, you help us to serve our members, our friends, and the wider community of this congregation too. As part of that service, we share our general offering each week with organizations that do work in the world that bring us ever closer to creating beloved community. This month, we're sharing our offering with Swords to Plowshares Northeast. They focus on reducing gun violence by building coalitions of community groups, religious organizations, police departments, hospitals, and businesses. They aim to be the go-to civilian source for managing gun buybacks, and then they actually work with people who do blacksmithing to repurpose those firearms into gardening tools. And they are donated to community gardens and other agricultural training programs too. To give electronically, you can use the QR codes in your order of service or in the links in the description. the link on our website. Here in the sanctuary, our offering will now be gratefully received.
One, two, one, two, three. And that's my shadow, and that's my shadow. I will say.
May these gifts, so generously given, sustain this community, our work in the world, and help support those organizations that make a difference out beyond our walls and doors. Thank you. Thank you. Our congregational reading is number 464 in the gray hymnal. Number 464. It's called And Then by Judy Chicago. Please rise, in body or in spirit. I'll speak the words in Roman type, and you may respond with the words in italics. And then all that has divided us will merge, and then compassion will be wedded to power. And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind. And then both men and women will be gentle. And then both women and men will be strong. And then no person will be subject to another's will. And then all will be rich and free and varied. And then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many. And then all will share equally in the earth's abundance. And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old. And then all will nourish the young. And then all will cherish life's creatures. And then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth. And then everywhere will be called Eden once again. Let's join in singing our doxology. Please be seated. I don't have anything new to share with you this week on behalf of the community. It is my understanding that Judy B. is still in her rehab, and so cards are much appreciated. Today, we are doing a Music Sunday service, paying attention to the women of jazz, or at least a small subset of the women of jazz. One of the things that's so important about this is that it reminds us that multiple voices, multiple perspectives, multiple ways of doing things can open things to us in ways that we might not have heard before, known before. In this congregation, up until, I want to say now, I've been here almost 7 full years, so that means it has to have been about 10 years ago when this congregation, up until then, said the Lord's Prayer every Sunday in worship, which is unusual for a Unitarian Universalist community. Now, we still use it when it's liturgically appropriate, but the congregation as a whole said, we don't need to say that every Sunday. Today, I'm going to share it with you, but in a different version than you might have heard before. This is Lala Winkley's recasting of this prayer taught by Jesus. And I encourage you to hear it anew, in words different from the original, brought by a woman who was seeking to hear it in language that made sense to her. She writes, so that we may hear anew, God, lover of us all, most holy, help us to respond to you to create what you want for us here on earth. Give us today enough for our needs. Forgive our weak and deliberate offenses, just as we must forgive others when they hurt us. Help us to resist evil and to do what is good. For we are yours, endowed with your power to make our world whole. Please join with me in a moment of silence and meditation so that you can hear the prayers of your own hearts. As our hearts offer our deepest, our broadest, our most hoped for, our most longed for, may we hear in words that we don't normally hear the hope and the longing that belongs to no one person, no one tradition, no one religion, but instead is part of our everyday existence. Whether we call it the Lord's Prayer or the cry of our hearts, our needs, let us know that we all hope for enough. We long for love and healed and sustainable connection. We have the desire to do the best we can for each and every and all. Let that be our prayer. May it be so. Amen.
Women have been making music forever, humming a tune, singing a lullaby to put the baby to sleep. Songs bubble up for daughters, mothers, and grandmothers in times of joy and sorrow, and simply in living day to day. But sometimes their music, our music, hasn't been recognized or has been admired and borrowed, and the credit has gone to someone else. I've heard people say that Anonymous was a woman. We've just had our February Black History Month, although everyone I know who's Black assures me that they are Black all year long. And now we turn to March, Women's Month. Personally, I celebrate all 365 days of the year. Or in this case, 366, right? Billie Holiday falls into both of these categories. She tells us, money, you've got lots of friends. They're crowding round your door. When you're gone and spending ends, they don't come round no more. Those are lyrics from God Bless the Child, written in 1939 by Billie Holiday and Arthur Herzog Jr. The song went on to become enormously successful, winning a Grammy Hall of Fame award in 1976 and being named in the list of Songs of the Century by the Recording Industry Association of America and the National Endowment for the Arts. The story goes that she wrote the lyrics after having an argument with her mother, Sadie, over money. Just a few years earlier, Holiday had loaned her mom thousands of dollars to open a restaurant. But when the singer found herself in need of cash, Sadie declined to give her any. Billie told her, "God bless the child who's got his own," and walked out. Holiday fought to become successful as a singer and composer to get her own. Of course, sometimes it's hard for women, especially Black women, to get into the club. Women have almost certainly composed more music than we know about. It's tough to get credit for your creativity when you don't have power. Someone else has more name recognition and clout. You don't realize how much it matters until the profits go to the other guy, and I do mean guy. Another woman composer we're spotlighting today is Consuelo Velázquez, who wrote Besamé Mucho, or Kiss Me a Lot. It doesn't sound nearly as good in English, does it? Before she had ever been kissed. According to some sources, she was only 15 years old and a serious student of classical piano when she was inspired by a theme in the opera Goyescas by Enrique Granados to write the song. She became a professional concert pianist, working as a soloist with Mexico's National Symphony Orchestra. Since performing on the radio for a young woman from a wealthy family was considered unsuitable, she used a male pseudonym in her first years. Eventually, the station director pushed her to admit that she was the author of the songs, and then he married her. Translated into more than 20 languages, Besamé Mucho is the only Mexican song to top the charts in the US and is recognized as the most recorded and covered song in Spanish of all time. Even the Beatles recorded it during an audition for Decca in 1962. While Besamé Mucho is Velázquez's best-known song, she continued composing throughout her life. Today's service includes several other women who composed jazz. Irene Higginbotham, a Black female in the white male-dominated world of songwriting, had an uphill battle. But over the course of her career, she had more than 50 of her compositions published. Her songs were performed by some of the most notable big bands of the day, including those of Benny Goodman, Stan Kenton, and Duke Ellington. Her most well-known song, the one you just heard, is Good Morning Heartache, which was recorded by Billie Holiday in '46 and by Diana Ross for the 1972 film about Holiday, Lady Sings the Blues. Composer Anne Ronell met George Gershwin when she interviewed him for a college publication, and after graduation, he helped her make connections in New York and the music publishing industry. But she found it hard to break in as a woman. The success of her 1932 song, Willow, Weep for Me, established her reputation as both a composer and a lyricist. She also wrote Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf? Showcased in the 33 Disney cartoon, Three Little Pigs. Some of us are old enough to remember that, right? But only in reruns. I don't know if we have anyone here from 1933, but if you are, good for you. Lyricist Dorothy Fields wrote the words for more than 400 songs for Broadway, musicals and films, some of which were played by Duke Ellington. And she also co-wrote several jazz standards, including two we're hearing today from the choir, On the Sunny Side of the Street and I Can't Give You Anything But Love, Baby. Here's the end of Billie Holiday's song, where she reminds us to make sure we watch out for ourselves, no matter who we are, and be certain to get credit for what we create. Rich relations give crust of bread and such. You can help yourself, but don't take too much, because Mama may have and Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got her own, that's got her own.
Our reading is adapted from two 2015 interviews in Jazz Wise and Billboard with Diana Krall, jazz pianist and singer. Thinking of Krall's die-hard jazz fans, I wonder if, after her two pop albums, they should be getting nervous now that she might be doing something similar to Nat King Cole and leaving jazz behind. I don't think I'm abandoning anything. I've always seen myself as a jazz pianist first. The major influence in my life is Nat King Cole, although I don't put myself in the same category as him. I know that some will like this pop album and some will not. You cannot control that. You just want to make a beautiful record that you love, coming from an honest place, and hope that everybody else will love it. I'm still doing jazz concerts. I don't want to abandon jazz and swing music and all the things I love. I'll just figure it out as I go along, and I'll look forward to playing my next jazz record, I guess. This is good news for music. In 2014, as part of the 80 Coolest Things Today in Jazz, Krall was honored as one of 5 so-called gateway artists, people who have drawn listeners to the beauty of jazz. Harry Connick Jr., Robert Glasper, Wynton Marsalis, and Esperanza Spalding complete this select quintet. Of the 80 Coolest Things, there are just 6 women. In addition to Krall and Spalding, the other 4 are guitarist Mary Halverson, vocalist Cecile McLaurin-Salvant, pianist Hiromi Uehara, plus the New York City-based concert producer and Blue Note Records executive producer Megan Stabile. Well, that's not very good, Krall says. What about Cassandra Wilson and Terry Lynn Carrington and the million other people? Diane Reeves, Renee Rosnes. It's too bad there are only 6 women.
probably should have said earlier on, this is a service where we should be applauding and making lots of noise. I appreciate that often we choose not to in order to kind of preserve the sense of stillness that we might share together for many of our worship services. But in this case, a little bit of noise, I think, is warranted. I have been listening to jazz since I was in junior high. And what I have found over time is that it is the women of jazz who have made the largest impression on me. They are the ones who I have found to be most interesting, most exciting, most accessible. And they've taught me a lot, quite a lot, whether I knew it or not all of the time. So, of course, my title is Doobie Doobie Doo, or Do, Be, Do, Be, Do. It's a bit of a prayer and a mantra, reminding me of how I can live. But that is just the most surface and the lightest of the lessons that I have learned. One of the ones that I learned really early on was from Ella Fitzgerald. Listening to her sing as I grew up, some television appearances, recordings, what I learned from her is that you are enough. She was enough. She sometimes would do some vocal acrobatics, but the truth is, if you listen to her sing, so much of it sounds like she's just there with you in the room talking in an extremely melodic way. And then she's kind of just scatting, doobie doobie doo, and more. But in ways that I would never think to do, in ways that were hers. She was enough. Whether she wanted to sing jazz or pop or everything in between, she was always her. She never tried to be anybody else. She was enough. And I hear that in people who have come along since. Diana Krall, Esperanza Spalding, Cassandra Wilson. These women who sing from their heart, from their experience, from their mind, from the core of their being, without needing to push too hard or be somebody else, without trying to be a man, or without trying to be a famous person, just letting the essence of who they are come through their music and touch our hearts. Touch my heart. That freedom, that expression, that's something that we also see in people like Brandy Younger, who is a contemporary jazz harpist. She combines some hip-hop and some R&B influences into her music. If you have not heard Brandy Younger yet, please listen to her record. Esperanza Spalding, a bassist, who takes a little something of everything, some Latin jazz, some R&B, some funk, some pure classic jazz. Natalie Cole, Nat King Cole's daughter, who went from pop music deep into classic vocal jazz. There are so many more. There's a young woman whose name I cannot remember right now, who won Best New Artist last year, I think, at the Grammys, who is a soul and jazz singer. Do you remember her name? Samara Joy. Whew. I have not heard a voice like hers. So worth it. There are so many people who are worth listening to, who teach us by their sheer existence how to be fully human and fully present and fully expressive. And one of the other things that I have learned from them, doing what you love is more important than fitting into anybody's box. Diana Krall, I'm going to sing pop, I'm going to do jazz, I'm going to do whatever it is that I love, and I hope that you're going to love it too. People who draw on everything that they love and enjoy and make it something powerful and beautiful and whole. Change us and change the world by giving us all permission to do that. One of the things that I hope this service encourages you to do is look back at women who have been in jazz who you've never heard of before. Do some Google searches. Find people who were ignored and listen to them. Lil Hardin, a composer, a pianist, a band leader, she actually married Louis Armstrong, and she gave him a boost, and he became way more famous than she was. Ma Rainey, who was a blues singer and band leader who helped shape what jazz would become. Hazel Scott, a pianist, the first Black American to host her own television show. Some of you might have heard of her, but most of us haven't, because her career was crushed by McCarthyism. Women have not always been uplifted or recognized in this field, or in many fields. But this larger recognition of women in jazz now, it's very recent, but it's much bigger. I've seen online organizations, Women in Jazz. I've seen individual musicians putting up lists of women by the instrument, by style. Like, if you like what I'm doing, please go listen to these. I think one of them had like 100, 150 people. There is so much out there right now that we have access to. So much that we can remember and be aware of that other people couldn't even 20, 25 years ago. This is another lesson for me. Another bit of why a service like this, why this music is actually part of spiritual practice. Because it reminds me to go back and find out, who have we left behind? Who have we forgotten? Who can we bring forward? Who can we understand and remember as valuable and introduce to one another, introduce to the world? Part of the point of religion is tradition, to bring what is past into the present and into the future in a way that helps us think anew, hear differently. Whether that is a recasting of the Lord's Prayer or a discovery of some musicians that we've never heard before. As Unitarian Universalists, we know that when we remember and lift up and move forward, we are, in fact, affirming and promoting the worth and dignity of every human being. So go listen to some jazz. Stay here for a little bit and listen to a little bit more. But go discover people that you haven't heard yet. Discover people who are amazing and not given their due. And let that inspire you to do that in the rest of your life as well. Our closing hymn is number 1026 in the blue hymnal. Number 1026, If Every Woman in the World. Please rise in body or in spirit as we sing together.
Dream
Please join me in speaking our unison benediction. It's in your order of service and the description online. Engage with the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. And please be seated and remain for our postlude.
We're so